The story begins as our protagonist finds a high school entrance exam voucher. As he looks around, he notices a nervous girl glancing anxiously in every direction. He calmly approaches and asks if it's hers. But when she looks back at him, startled and panicked, he feels shocked and embarrassed, wondering if he did something wrong. The protagonist enters high school full of hope, dreaming of finding a future wife, becoming popular, and making lots of friends. But on the very first day, when the teacher takes attendance and skips his name, he's hit by disappointment. Frustrated, he holds his head, only to be surprised when the girl beside him quietly raises her hand and tells the teacher he missed Hachiya-kun. He turns to look at her, Kumakura-san, wearing a strange bear mask. Thinking she's just as odd as he is, he notices the other students whispering and laughing at her. Feeling sorry for her, he assumes she won't make friends either. But then he smiles to himself, realizing they might be the same, two outsiders in the same world. He recalls his middle school days when classmates often ignored him or called him by the wrong name. Even the gardening club advisor who praised his hard work never got his name right. The worst was graduation day, when his homeroom teacher congratulated him using someone else's name. Despite always trying to correct them, he remained unnoticed. In the end, he graduated without making a single friend. Looking at Kumakura-san, he initially assumed she's just another awkward loner like him, hiding behind a mask to avoid people and probably friendless. But a few days later, he's stunned when she eagerly volunteers to be class president and even approaches other girls to have lunch together. Within days, she makes friends, leaving him shocked and uneasy as he realizes they're nothing alike after all. The next day in class, as the teacher hands out printouts, Hachiya quietly thinks about how different he and Kumakura are. She's outgoing and full of energy, while he feels invisible. He grows more annoyed when the teacher once again skips over him to hand out the sheets. He glances at Kumakura and is surprised to see her asleep. It's unexpected, especially since she's the class president. But then he notices her pen slowly dragging across the paper, just drawing lines. Worried, he remembers how short-tempered the teacher can be. Suddenly, the teacher calls on her to answer a question. She jumps up, clearly panicked. Upon seeing this, he grows concerned and quickly writes the answer on his notebook, tilting it toward her just enough so she can see, without the teacher noticing him. She catches it and answers perfectly. The teacher nods and tells her to sit down. Hachiya exhales in relief. Kumakura turns, gives him a small smile, and waves a thank you. His face flushes red with shyness. Lost in thought about her, he doesn't hear the teacher calling him again, by the wrong name, as always. Irritated, the teacher taps him on the head, and Hachiya sadly corrects him. It's Hachiya. After class, while watering his only friend, his gypsophila plant, Hachiya smiles with blushing cheeks, quietly thanking Kumakura for noticing him. He gently wishes someone would one day notice the little plant too. Meanwhile, the classmates excitedly gather around, happily enjoying the cookies Kumakura brought for everyone. As only one small bag remains, a girl suggests they split it as well. Hachiya, feeling invisible again, helplessly thinks he's once more been overlooked. Just as he gathers the courage to speak up and say he didn't get any, he sees two students already arguing over the last bag, which deepens his disappointment. But to his surprise, Kumakura suddenly steps in, takes the bag from them, and calmly says, "This one's for Hachiya-kun." His embarrassment deepens when Kumakura approaches and politely offers him the cookies. Just then, another cheerful girl walks over and asks if he's Ishikawa-kun. Kumakura quickly corrects her, "He's our classmate, Hachiya-kun." Both are startled when Hachiya suddenly dashes away in a fluster. Now kneeling in the corridor, cheeks pink with confusion and joy, he wonders if she's noticed him from the very beginning. He recalls how, on the first day, she was the one who informed the teacher he had missed calling Hachiya-kun's name. That memory surprises him even more. Looking at the cookie bag in his hand, he smiles and decides to thank her somehow. The next day in class, some girls notice flowers placed on Kumakura's desk. From behind the door, Hachiya peeks in with a quiet grin, thinking proudly that those gypsophila flowers are ones he personally cared for during gardening club. But his thoughts are interrupted, and panic sets in when a classmate suddenly yells, scolding whoever left the flowers on Kumakura-san's desk. She accuses the gesture of being a form of bullying. Shocked and confused, Hachiya worries deeply. It was just a thank you gift. Feeling guilty, he quickly slips away, thinking to himself he'll never give anyone flowers again. The angry classmate tosses the bouquet into the trash just as Kumakura arrives. Upon asking what happened, Her classmates explain that someone was trying to bully her by leaving those kinds of flowers. Hachiya, now sitting alone near the school garden, stares at the soil, blaming himself. It's not the flower's fault, he just messed it up. Suddenly, Kumakura appears behind him and gently calls his name. He jolts in panic. When she asks if he was the one who placed the flowers on her desk, he hesitates, then nervously admits it, face red and voice trembling. He just wanted to thank her, not bully he. Hachiya, feeling flustered, curiously wonders how Kumakura recognized he was the one who sent the flowers. His face heats up even more when she calmly admits she already knew, as she has always seen him watering the gypsophila in class. His embarrassment grows, his face burning at her awareness. Then her curiosity shifts, and she seems to wonder how he could tell she was in trouble even while wearing a mask. He recalls she had been sleeping, and assumed she wouldn't be aware of anything. But her surprise grows when she realizes he had noticed even that. She seems genuinely touched that he had paid such quiet attention. With calmness, she explains that she hadn't slept the entire night, as she had been baking cookies for the class. There's a sense of happiness in her demeanor, as if being noticed by him holds a special meaning. She reflects that he always helps those in need and never changes, just like the gypsophila flowers. When she confesses that she likes these flowers because, although they are small and go unnoticed, a bouquet is incomplete without them, it seems she sees him the same way, as someone quiet yet essential. Her expression softens with gratitude, acknowledging that no one had ever given her flowers before. Her quiet confession leaves him so flustered and blushing that, completely clueless about the reason behind his racing heart and strange change in feelings, he decides to visit the doctor. His panicked condition draws concern from her as well, but just then, as he notices a bee flying near her, he loudly reacts out of worry, rushing toward her to protect her. She appears startled and tries to stop him from getting too close. However, when the bee suddenly enters her bear mask, his concern overwhelms him. Without thinking, he grabs the bear mask and pulls it away in an attempt to protect her. As he catches sight of her face, now exposed and clearly nervous and shocked, he immediately shuts his eyes and bows his head, apologizing sincerely for seeing her face. While he immediately holds the mask and tries to hand it over to her, he notices that she nervously hides her face, her expression filled with fear. He becomes shocked to realize that with the mask on, she appears more confident and extroverted, while without it, she turns into a nervous and timid girl. When he hesitantly asks if she wears the mask because she lacks the courage to talk to anyone without it, she nervously uses a text-to-speech app on her phone to respond and even apologizes. Seeing how shy she truly is and understanding how difficult it must be for her without the mask, he gently places it back on her face. Suddenly, he recalls that she was the same Kumakura-san whom he met on the first day, when he had handed the entrance card to a nervous girl who had shyly thanked him. Although his days had once felt colorless, her presence now seems to bring the possibility of turning them into vibrant and noticeable ones. The next day at school, everyone becomes curious about Kumakura-san's mask, wondering whether she might be an alien, a truly beautiful girl, or even the slit-mouthed woman hiding behind a bear mask. This curiosity makes everyone eager to see her face. He is shocked to see that even the school news club's paparazzi surrounds her, asking about the reason she always wears the mask. Although part of him feels happy thinking that through this attention, someone might finally notice him too, he sadly walks away upon realizing that, as always, he is completely ignored. Despite this, he admits that people genuinely want to see her face. Then suddenly, it hits him. He is the only one who has actually seen her face. That thought immediately drives him to want to help her. As she enters the classroom, he tries to talk to her, but she ignores him and walks forward. He becomes even more shocked when she hides herself under a table, then suddenly runs out of the school, waving at him, leaving only a message that they'll meet again tomorrow. While standing there, he feels extremely worried, wondering if she is avoiding him because she's angry that he saw her face. The next day, he becomes shocked and even more concerned when he sees that same paparazzi boy approaching her again with a suspicious smile and casually greeting her good morning. Seeing this, the other students around start whispering, staring as they mention that he is Kameda from the newspaper club, comparing him to a snapping turtle who never lets go once he gets curious about someone. As he smiles at the other students, saying that he's hearing everything, Kumakura-san calmly suggests he go back, insisting she has nothing suspicious going on. Hachiya becomes nervous when the boy smirks and asks what she was doing alone in the backyard. Hachiya remembers that they were both there yesterday when she thanked him for the flower, but he grows annoyed at being ignored again. None of them noticed he was there with her. While one of her classmates tries to stand up for her, the boy angrily tells them not to interfere. Then, with curiosity, he asks Kumakura if she was meeting aliens or hiding some other secret behind her mask. So, thinking that once they remove her mask and become mesmerized by her cuteness, Hachiya immediately gathers his courage, stands up, and loudly declares that she's not an alien, but was with him, looking at the flowers. But upon seeing him, Kamita angrily and rapidly asks his assistants about the boy, but is shocked to find they have no information about him. Kamita is even more surprised, as it's completely impossible not to have data on a student from this school. He angrily questions whether Hachiya is really a student here, and then, shouting that he was with Kumakura-san, claims that makes him suspicious too. He runs toward him, grabs him roughly, and demands he reveal everything he knows about her. When Hachiya refuses, saying he knows nothing, Kamita immediately offers him a rare, delicious steak ticket. But Hachiya refuses, saying he already has a homemade lunch. Kamita then offers a picture of the school's idol girl, Hanamori Choko, but Hachiya denies knowing who she is, which makes Kamita even more annoyed, realizing he can't figure out how to buy him off without having any info about him. Then the girl assistant approaches again and informs Kamita that from the school records, all they know is that Hachiya is in the gardening club, nothing more. So Kamita immediately points to the flower pot and asks if he's the one taking care of that flower. Upon seeing Hachiya's first scared expression, Kamita grabs the vase and, moving it outside the window, threatens to drop it unless Hachiya reveals something about Kumakura-san. But although feeling helpless, he controls himself and shares that he has no information about her. At the exact moment Kamita is about to throw the vase, Kumakura arrives, snatches the vase, and then, holding Hachiya-kun's hand, runs away very fast, while Kamita, much annoyed at not getting any information, announces through the mic that her true face is about to be revealed, so all the students, filled with curiosity, start following them. While seeing so many club members who want to see her face following them, he also becomes surprised to realize that, for the first time in his life, so many people are chasing him. But at the next moment, she suggests they split up to divide them. He immediately agrees, and both start running away. Now running through the corridor and noticing that no one is following him, he becomes worried, thinking that even though he tried to save her, still all the people still chose to follow her. But suddenly he hears Kamita, annoyed at not finding either of them. Now hiding while holding his flower vase, he feels very worried for her and decides to go after her since it seems the crowd has calmed down. He feels much disheartened thinking that no one would ever find him, recalling how during his first grade class, while playing hide and seek, even the teacher searched for all the students. But after hiding for a while and deciding to come out, he sadly realized that even the teacher and all the students had moved on, forgetting him entirely, and no one even knew his name. As he sits down gloomily, his face suddenly lights up when Kumakura excitedly approaches him, having found him. But suddenly, hearing the crowd approaching again, he instinctively grabs her hand, and now both are hiding under the table. He becomes shattered when she desperately apologizes to him for ignoring him, explaining that she misunderstood and thought he would dislike her because she lacked the courage to talk without the mask. She also thanks him for keeping her secret, saying she doesn't want to be exposed. In return, he thanks her for saving his plant and sincerely thanks her again for finding him in this game of hide and seek. When she affectionately assures him that she'll find him no matter where he is, he, without blushing but with a racing heart, looks at her, thinking about the expression behind her mask. But suddenly, this quiet moment is interrupted when Kamita loudly shouts with a vile smile upon finding them. Before he can reach them, Hachiya immediately holds her hand and runs away. Now hiding behind the bushes, they peek out and seeing the large crowd at the school gate, she curiously wonders if they all want to see her face. He explains calmly that it's human nature to want to expose what's hidden out of curiosity. But suddenly, he gets an idea and decides they should leave through the main gate. He assures her that no one will notice them, as he truly wants to help her and is determined to protect her secret. While standing at the gate, Kameda yells at his club members for losing them and angrily instructs them to start the search again tomorrow. At that exact moment, Kumakura-san, without her mask and with a nervous expression, walks beside Hachiya-kun. Because he came up with a plan, no one knows her face and, as usual, no one ever notices him. He becomes shocked when Kameda suddenly grabs his shoulder, scolding him and asking if he's trying to escape. Then, looking at the girl beside him, Kameda asks if she is Kumakura-san. But just then, someone announces that Kumakura-san is leaving school in the teacher's car, and all the students immediately start running toward it. Taking advantage of the moment, he quickly grabs her hand and runs away from the school. As they walk, she looks at him with such affection, and he feels genuinely happy, amazed that his simple plan of creating a dummy actually worked, and surprised at how his once colorless days are now turning into something unexpected. When he looks at her and notices her deeply blushed face, he immediately lets go of her hand with an apology, realizing he grabbed it without thinking during the intense moment. Then both of them start running toward their homes, while he silently thanks her for turning his days into something finally filled with color. The next day, Kameda angrily scolds the other club members for failing to find any clue, shouting that they only ended up chasing a fake dummy. Meanwhile, Hanamori Chuko, clearly annoyed, harshly orders the girl beside her to dig up any information about Kumakura-san. She glares at Kumakura's picture, thinking to herself that she'll expose her true identity, because there's no way she'll let Kumakura steal her spotlight. The next day, Hanamori Chuko walks down the corridor proudly, thinking that with her sharp nose, beautiful eyes, and long silky hair, no one ever ignores her beauty. She believes that wherever she goes, everyone stares, takes pictures, and the school corridor turns into her personal runway. But suddenly, seeing the whole crowd turn toward Kumakura-san as she arrives, completely ignoring Hanamori, she stares in disbelief while whispering to herself whether Kumakura-san came from a UFO, as even she seems like a transformed dummy. Upon seeing Kumakura, she angrily looks at her, thinking that she would just have a regular face but grabs people's attention due to her face mask. But she becomes even angrier when students start praising her girly nature and cuteness, even saying that it surpasses Hanamori. Hearing all the students affectionately praising Kumakura's amazing feminine nature, she grows jealous with a dangerous look, thinking that she is the only one who should be the most feminine and popular girl. Now looking at her, she angrily decides not to forgive her if she tries to compete. Now at the newspaper club, she is angrily sitting while confused about Kumakura's calm behavior even after the previous incident. So she decides on an evil idea, to make a close relation with her and then expose her true identity. Then, as she is looking at Kumakura's picture and seeing Hachiya's blurred face in the background, she wonders whether their camera also captures ghosts. But upon Kameda casually explaining about Hachiya that he is always with Kumakura-chan, it makes Hanamori very excited as she hits a plan. Then, wasting no time, she approaches Hachiya and offers him to go on a date. But on his confusedly asking about her, she angrily shouts at him for not knowing about the famous school idol. Then he immediately recalls when Kameda was offering her picture to him. But as he, much curious, asks why she is inviting him on a date, at that moment Kumakura, listening to this, much panicked, falls on the ground. While seeing her, he immediately tries to explain when Hanamori-chan, seeing her plan succeeding, immediately comes very close to him and informs her that they both are going on a date, and also according to her plan, suggests Kumakura also come with them, which she immediately agrees to. Next day on the date, Hanamori angrily scolds him for being late, while on his hesitantly explaining, as he is here from previous 1 hour, Kumakura-san apologizes as he was not able to find her in this crowd. While Hanamori is cleverly thinking about her main mission, to use Hachiya to expose Kumakura's true identity, as she is totally unaware about girlish character. But upon seeing her evil smile, he immediately realizes her plan and decides to protect Kumakura's identity at any cost. So now as they enter the shopping center, and on his deciding to go out, Hanamori holds him from the collar and shouts at him to come with them to check out their pics. Then in the store, Hanamori proudly selects a latest girly fashion outfit, which he just admires, but seeing Kumakura confused in selecting one, she proudly thinks that her old-fashioned sense exposes her not girlish nature. But as she wears a floral short frock, he, much impressed, embarrasses her by explaining the flower on the dress is moss pink, which blooms around May, which she happily admires, his knowledge about flowers. While seeing her plan flopping, she angrily coughs to stop them from flirting and suggests to eat as she is much hungry. Now sitting in the cafe, she is looking at the menu. Although she's craving some curry or ramen just to show off her girlish nature, she acts with exaggerated cuteness and orders one Fuwa Kuma-chan pancake. But seeing that both the others also ordered the same, she becomes quite puzzled. As the pancakes arrive, she takes one bite and makes a weird face. She actually hates sweets. But upon seeing Kumakura excitedly and adorably eating the cute dish, she herself gets impressed by her naturally girlish behavior. Although she tries to keep eating, unable to handle the overwhelming sweetness, she ends up drinking a cup of black coffee, which gives her a very odd impression in front of them. But when Kumakura, with concern, asks about Hachiya's pancake, which still hasn't arrived, even though they ordered at the same time, he explains while smiling awkwardly that during their entrance, they noticed the staff only set the table for two, meaning he was totally ignored again. Kumakura then suggests calling the waiter, but before she can, Hanamori, while taking a bite of her pancake, suddenly turns to him and offers to share, saying, "Open his mouth." Seeing this, Kumakura calmly interjects, noting that the piece is too big, and gently cuts a smaller portion, holding it out to him and suggesting he eat that instead. Watching both girls trying to feed him, he becomes visibly panicked, internally wondering if they're worried the pancakes are poisoned or something. To ease the tension, he quietly whispers, trying to reassure them, "These cakes aren't poisoned." But this only makes Hanamori angrier. She suddenly stands up, forcefully shoves the oversized piece into his mouth and snaps, "Just eat it already." They're on a date. Now they enter the haunted house, Hanamori secretly hatching a plan to act frightened and cling to Hachiya, hoping to show off her delicate girlish side. As they walk in, she confidently moves ahead, but noticing something odd about her steps, Hachiya gently asks if something's wrong with her shoes. She ignores his concern, brushing it off and urging both of them to keep moving forward. However, as they step deeper inside, a scary ghost figure suddenly jumps out in front of her. For a split second, she forgets her entire act. Not only does she not get scared, she instinctively punches the ghost right in the face. The poor actor, caught completely off guard, stumbles back and collapses onto the ground, groaning in pain. Hanamori, now annoyed at the weak scare tactics, starts storming forward while grumbling seriously, "That's it." But as she glances around, her irritation turns to confusion. Both Hachiya and Kumakura are nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, on the other side, as the ghost suddenly appears before her, Kumakura gets startled and instinctively clutches his sleeve tightly in fear. Although Hachiya was initially thinking about Hanamori's invitation, seeing Kumakura's genuinely terrified expression makes his heart ache. When she nervously asks if he came here because he's scared of the haunted place too, he hesitates. He had only come to protect her, but caught off guard by her anxious question and unsure how to express his true feelings, he ends up blurting out, "Because Hanamori-san invited me." Noticing Kumakura's downcast expression, Hachiya grows anxious, wondering if she's actually a fan of Hanamori and only wished to be alone with her. Worried he's intruding, he quickly apologizes and begins to step away. But Kumakura, visibly flustered, stops him. With trembling hands, she removes her mask, revealing teary eyes filled with uncertainty. Her silent gesture seems to ask whether he would agree to date anyone who invited him. Hachiya is left speechless, cheeks flushed with surprise and emotion. Yet before either can react further, Hanamori's loud voice echoes nearby. Remembering the unsteady way she walked earlier, they realize her foot may be injured. Kumakura hurriedly puts her mask back on, and they both rush out. Now seated outside, she examines her foot, reddened from unfamiliar high heels. A quiet guilt settles over her as she watches the discomfort caused by a mistake that could have been avoided. As Hachiya runs toward Hanamori with concern, she stands abruptly and angrily tells him to leave her alone. But he ignores her irritation, calmly asking if her foot is all right, noting that something seems wrong. Realizing her act has fallen apart, Hanamori lowers her gaze and quietly admits that she only dressed in a girlish way to stay in the spotlight, when in truth, she's far from that image. Hachiya gently offers her a drink and encourages her to just be herself, reminding her she doesn't need to perform for others. His quiet sincerity unexpectedly leaves her moved, yet almost immediately she collects herself, scolds him again, and returns the drink with a flustered expression. As she walks away, she stops, glances back, and half sincere, half mischievous, asks him not to expose Kumakura's extreme femininity. Then with a suspicious smile, she admits that his invisible presence is oddly memorable and warns him, with a teasing tone, to brace himself next time. Soon after, as Hachiya watches her leave, Kumakura arrives with a small first aid kit. Still puzzled and slightly rattled, he tells her in a hushed voice that Hanamori might have had a secret plan, to force-feed him an enormous pancake under the pretense of a date. As they sit on the bench, he admits that Hanamori only comes to reveal Kumakura's true identity, and that he's here to protect her secret. Hearing this, she sweetly suggests they go on a date of two next time, He misunderstands, thinking she means the two of them with Hanamori, and quickly apologizes for coming today, saying he won't come again. She steps closer, removes her mask, and with flushed cheeks, gently corrects him. She means a date with just him. Her closeness flusters him. Worried, she pulls back and asks if he's in pain. He explains his heart is beating so fast it feels like it might burst, not because he's sick, but because he's truly happy to be with her. Blushing, Kumakura softly calls his name, as this sickness is love. The next day in class, Kumakura's friends admire her lunchbox and ask her to bring extras for them too. Hachiya, watching this, realizes she always brings bite-sized food that fits perfectly into her bear-shaped mouth, so she can eat without removing her mask. Seeing her eat, he suddenly worries. What if she forgets her lunch one day? The very next morning, a nervous Kumakura tells her friend that she forgot her lunch. Her friend, now equally concerned, asks if she has any money to buy food. Excitedly, Kumakura shows her ATM card, only to be told, with disappointment, that cards aren't accepted at school. Worried and distracted, Kumakura quietly walks to her seat next to Hachiya. As she passes him, he gently asks if she's okay. Trying to stay composed, she quickly makes an excuse. She's starting a diet, and this feels like the perfect chance. Other students overhear and start teasing her, joking that she must be an alien who doesn't eat food and lives off magic. Her friend angrily defends her, shouting that she's just a normal girl. As class begins, Kumakura seems off. During math, she absent-mindedly gives an answer meant for biology. In art and PE, she's unusually inactive. Watching her, Hachiya grows more and more concerned. He realizes it's not just about skipping lunch. She must be anxious that during lunch break, classmates might pressure her to remove her mask to eat, and that terrifies her. Suddenly determined, he grabs his pouch and rushes to the cafeteria to buy something small and bite-sized, like asago seeds, something she can eat easily without removing her mask. After all, he promised to protect her secret. But as he arrives at the cafeteria, he freezes, shocked by the huge crowd gathered there. Just then, someone excitedly shouts about getting something, and Hachiya overhears. The school is giving out free lunch boxes today to celebrate the director's birthday. Now standing helplessly in the middle of the chaos, Hachiya doesn't know what to do. But after a moment of hesitation, he gathers his courage and steps into the crowd. He gets pushed and pulled in all directions, yet by sheer luck, he ends up right at the front of the line, unnoticed. He feels a spark of happiness. Finally, he can get something for Kumakura. But when he sees the food options, his smile fades. It's all fast food. Burgers, sandwiches, oversized portions. He starts to worry. These are way too big for her tiny bear-shaped mouth. Seeing all the students eagerly grabbing their lunch boxes, Hachiya quickly decides, it's better than nothing. Without wasting a second, he places money on the counter, grabs a lunch box, and rushes back toward the classroom. As he enters, he sees Kumakura's friend offering her an apple. Though Kumakura's stomach growls, she stubbornly insists she isn't hungry and doesn't want anything. Her friend, still concerned, asks if Kumakura doesn't consider her a real friend. Is that why she won't take off her mask? Kumakura immediately stands up, visibly upset, and firmly denies it. She says as friends, she would never let her go hungry. Turning to the rest of the class, she angrily demands that someone give Kumakura at least a bite of their lunch. Before anyone can respond, Hachiya steps forward and offers the lunchbox he brought. But Misaki, clearly annoyed, shouts at him. She grabs him by the collar, angrily accusing him of offering something too big for Kumakura to eat. Does he want to pick a fight with them? She yells. Flustered, Hachiya tries to explain. He brought it because it was all they had, and he just wants Kumakura to eat something. But Misaki grows even more upset, demanding to know who is he to be offering food to her like that. Hachiya falls silent, gloomy, realizing her reaction stings. After learning Kumakura's secret, he had promised to protect it. But to her, he thinks maybe he's just another classmate. Clutching the lunchbox tighter, he starts to doubt himself. Maybe it's weird he is even doing this. Just then, Kumakura quietly steps forward. Standing between them, she turns to Misaki and says calmly, Hachiya is her friend too, just like her. Hachiya stares at her, shocked, and then, quietly, a little hope returns to his face. Although Misaki glares at Hachiya with frustration, she ends up smiling and reminds Kumakura not to forget her lunch next time before walking off. Once she's gone, Kumakura shyly turns to Hachiya and suggests they go to the rooftop. As they climb the stairs, Hachiya's heart races. He keeps thinking about when she called him her friend. His face turns red from emotion, and by the time they reach the rooftop, he's already in tears. Worried, Kumakura gently asks what's wrong. Hachiya, wiping his eyes, says he's just really happy. Being her friend means more to him than he can put into words. She softly confesses that his lunch invitation made her happy too. She explains that while she never takes off her mask in front of anyone, Hachiya is special to her. Her words make his face turn crimson, and he becomes flustered. She continues, saying that earlier that morning, she secretly wished to eat lunch with him. Grateful, she thanks him and asks him to turn around. She's going to remove her mask. He quickly agrees and looks away. As the breeze flows over the rooftop, she slowly takes off her mask. Curious, Hachiya glances over without thinking and freezes. Her red, blushing face is so adorable that he's completely captivated. Embarrassed, Kumakura quickly covers her face again. He instantly apologizes and offers her the lunchbox, letting her choose whatever she likes. She pulls out her phone and types a message asking about his lunch. He smiles and says he brought one from home, but then suddenly remembers he forgot it today too. Kumakura giggles, her cheeks still pink. The sight makes his heart skip. She then shyly asks if he wants to eat with her. He nervously says he's not hungry, but his stomach growls right away. They both laugh a little, and she invites him to sit with her. Splitting her lunch, she offers him a share. Now sitting side by side, they quietly and affectionately enjoy the meal. As they eat, Hachiya softly says it's the first time in his life he's had lunch with a friend. Blushing, she adds, "For now, they're friends." He tilts his head. "For now?" Flustered, he thinks as they just became friends, so he has to work really hard to keep it that way, like it's a contract between them. At home, when Hachiya's younger brother casually asks if he's made any friends in high school, their parents also turn to him with quiet curiosity. Hachiya calmly admits that he has, a response that stuns them. His father, thrilled, even announces they should throw a party. As their excitement escalates, Hachiya grows nervous, but they continue, unaware, firing questions, whether the friend is a boy or girl, what they're like, if they're a good student. He explains she's a girl and the class representative. His mother, cautiously curious, asks about her appearance. Flustered, Hachiya accidentally blurts out that she looks bear-like. Silence follows. Embarrassed, he quickly grabs his bag and heads to school. His younger brother waves loudly from behind, urging him to bring her home sometime. At school, Kumakura excitedly informs Hachiya about the upcoming sports competition. Surprised by her energy, he listens as she passionately explains that since it's her first time in this role, she wants to give it her all. She flashes a bright, infectious grin, her face glowing with determination. Misaki also tells Kumakura that she's joined the volleyball club and suggests they form a practice team together. Before they can discuss it further, the teacher enters the classroom. While acknowledging the students' excitement about the upcoming competition, he also announces that there will be a parent-teacher meeting later that day. Noticing Kumakura's suddenly tense expression, Misaki quietly asks if she's okay. Hachiya, standing nearby, also steps in, offering his help with genuine concern. Kumakura, clearly touched, smiles brightly and reassures him that she'd really appreciate the help. Following her instructions, Hachiya eagerly raises his voice, calling the class together for practice. Though he isn't acknowledged, he feels a quiet joy just from supporting Kumakura. But as the classmates begin to gather, some look at him with confusion, not recognizing him. One even asks if he's in the wrong class. The comment stings, after all, he is their classmate. His smile fades. His sadness deepens when the entire group heads toward Kumakura for practice, leaving him behind. Now sitting outside in a separate place, he is crying about his useless existence and also becomes impressed as Kumakura is excitedly instructing everyone for the sports. But he becomes shocked when Hanamori-san approaches him and, shocked, asks why he is in this weird place. While he feels a little bit relaxed that she managed to find him, she smirks, saying that she just felt a negative energy around here and walked to check, and ended up finding him, which again makes him so much disappointed, and he starts crying emotionally. While she also notices Kumakura instructing everyone, Hanamori thinks either she would continue to do it till the end. Next day, he is walking in the corridor when he sees Kumakura fall on the ground. He immediately approaches her and asks if she is all right. While seeing the notes, he really appreciates her efforts. While she sadly informs about the parent-teacher meeting after the competition by sharing that earlier she was not wearing a mask and not able to talk to anyone, which made her parents too worried, especially her brother, who even ended up staying with her during the school trip like a bodyguard. But she excitedly shares her motive to now show her parents that she is mature, which surprises him. It is the competition day. All the classmates are practicing, praising Kumakura's hard work, and Misaki and Kumakura are hooting for the students. Suddenly, Hachiya realizes that a ball is approaching her. Although he shouts to warn her, it suddenly hits her head and she collapses to the ground. Seeing this, all the students run toward her. Someone decides to carry her, while some students start teasing that she's a robot, so she doesn't need any help. Someone suggests she just needs some magic, when Misaki, much irritated, shouts to carry her. Although Hachiya-kun is very worried and tries to approach her, due to the crowd, he cannot reach her. Some students suggest removing her mask, which Misaki immediately denies. While he stands there, much more worried, Misaki suddenly looks around. Although not knowing his full name, she loudly calls out to him to come forward and carry her. All the students, shocked, look in that direction. Hachiya immediately raises his hand and steps forward. He bends down, and Misaki, holding Kumakura, places her on his back. As he carries her, he admires her hard work and passion but also realizes that he is not very strong. Still, he feels happy to help her even a little. But he walks slowly as she feels heavy to him. Misaki shouts at him, asking if he plans to reach the infirmary the next day. Now arriving at the nurse's station, Misaki immediately runs off to call the teacher, while he is left sitting alone with Kumakura. Thinking she might be having heat stroke, he hesitantly removes her bear mask and becomes mesmerized by her innocent face. As he glances at her notes nearby, he quietly admires all her hard work. But suddenly, she regains consciousness. Realizing she's lying on the bed without her mask, she becomes extremely nervous and scared, quickly pulling the blanket over herself. He immediately apologizes for removing her mask, explaining that after she was hit, she lost consciousness, and they brought her to the infirmary. Much disappointed, she hides herself under the blanket, feeling guilty for not being helpful to everyone. He calmly tries to comfort her, appreciating all the effort she has put in. Gently, he explains that because of her, all the students are having fun. He adds that even though her parents are supportive, she shouldn't force herself to do everything alone. Then hesitantly, he suggests she can depend on him too. Hearing this, she blushes deeply and looks at him. Meeting her gaze, he gets flustered and awkwardly says that even if he's not that reliable, he's determined to help her in any way he can. Then, embarrassed by his own words, he quickly lowers his head and apologizes for saying such strange things, preparing to leave. But he freezes when she gently holds his little finger and quietly thanks him for his help. Now both sitting at the cafe, he confusedly asks if she needs any help. She informs him that with the upcoming parent-teacher meeting and her parents being busy, they decided to send her brother to visit the school. He immediately brightens up, excitedly suggesting that they work really hard to convince her brother she's doing well at school. But he becomes shocked when she denies doing that. Then, sadly, she admits that her family has no idea she wears a bear mask at school. Seeing his stunned expression, she explains that it would seem weird to be wearing such a thing at school. She adds that while her parents might misunderstand, her brother would go as far as to harass the teachers, forcing them to make his little sister stop wearing the mask, and might even transfer her to another school. He is completely shocked by this sudden revelation. Thinking about how hard he worked to finally make a friend, he becomes determined not to lose her under any circumstances. Immediately, he decides to come up with a plan so her brother will never find out the truth. But before they can continue, both become shocked when Hachiya suddenly shouts, seeing his sister approaching with a boy. Surprised, she recognizes his bear friend. Then his sister introduces the boy with her as a junior at her company, and also Hachiya as her little brother. While Kumakura tries to explain something, Hachiya is just about to call her name when she immediately closes his mouth with her hand. The young man happily shares that his little sister goes to the same school. As he sits down and casually shares his card, introducing himself as Kumakura Akira, Hachiya becomes completely shocked and panicked, realizing he is Kumakura's older brother. Now all four of them are sitting together. Hachiya is visibly shocked by the sudden coincidence. Leaning in, he whispers to her in disbelief, asking if he's really her brother. When she quietly admits it, he becomes extremely worried. Overthinking, he immediately fears that once Akira finds out that Bear Girl is his sister, he'll get angry and transfer her to another school. Determined, Hachiya resolves to do his best to keep her secret. But his confidence shatters when Akira abruptly and coldly asks if he is Hachiya, and then directly inquires whether he knows Kumakura Hikaru, his sister. Hachiya grows nervous under the direct question about his classmate. Hesitantly calming himself, he admits they are classmates. Akira then, with genuine curiosity, begins asking more, wanting to know if his sister is doing well. He also politely expresses concern about her shy nature and whether she's adjusting. Akira's deep concern for his sister surprises Hachiya, while Hachiya's sister, laughing awkwardly, apologizes for her brother's behavior and quickly changes the subject. With curiosity, she asks about Hachiya's bear-like friend, introducing herself as Hachiya's older sister. In return, Kumakura also introduces herself, but with a fake name, Suzuki Kasumi. Her sister, much impressed by her, grabs her hands with excitement and thanks her for being friends with her brother. She emotionally shares how hard it would be to notice him due to his unnoticeable personality. He, embarrassed, shouts at his sister to stop. He becomes even more shocked when Kumakura politely admits that she always causes trouble for him. While both siblings continue teasing each other, Akira becomes serious again and asks Hachiya if he has any idea about the boy who gave gypsophila to his sister. Apparently, it made her incredibly happy, and Akira now wants to know everything about that guy. Flustered, Hachiya wonders if Kumakura really liked that flower so much. Akira adds that once he meets the guy, he would respectfully thank him, making Hachiya even more embarrassed and strangely happy. Seeing Akira's intense attention on the topic, Hachiya nervously smiles and replies that he has no idea about the boy, secretly thinking that if he told the truth, her brother would probably kill him on the spot. As her sister excitedly mentions that her brother is in the gardening club and has been taking care of the gypsophila flowers, he becomes visibly nervous again and subtly suggests that his sister shouldn't interfere too much. But Akira, ignoring their side conversation, turns serious once more and asks Hachiya to tell him more about Kumakura-san. Thinking carefully, Hachiya nervously begins describing her as brave and extroverted, someone who is even popular and easily makes friends. But upon noticing Akira's shocked expression, Hachiya quickly realizes that her brother only knows the true Kumakura, the shy, reserved one. He then glances at Haru for permission and, after receiving her silent approval, shifts his description. He tells Akira the truth, that Kumakura is actually very quiet, spends her lunch breaks reading books, and doesn't really have any friends. Now Akira smiles, relieved to hear this, because that is the sister he truly knows. Taking a sip of coffee, Akira suddenly gets serious and brings up the idea of transferring her to another school. This instantly makes Hachiya tense. Akira explains that back in middle school, Kumakura had a very hard time talking to people and ended up becoming completely silent. That's why they transferred her to a new school where no one knew her. But now, seeing that things haven't really changed, he's seriously considering doing it again. She suddenly stands up and gently stops her brother to do so. When he questions her, she smiles and says that although Kumakura is introverted, she's surrounded by kind people and truly enjoys school. He stares in surprise, flustered by her words. Her brother finally smiles, saying he now believes in her. Just then, his sister gets a message from work, and they both decide to leave. As he turns to go, he kindly tells Hachiya to take care of her. Looking down, he feels a wave of sadness. She's always helped him, always found him. On impulse, he calls out to them. They turn, surprised. Panting, he bows and apologizes for lying. He explains she's the class president, popular and admired by everyone, yet she still noticed someone like him. She runs to his side, shocked, as he adds that she's the reason school feels meaningful to him. Her brother watches silently, moved by the sincerity in his voice. Overwhelmed, Hachiya quickly apologizes again and dashes off, wishing them goodbye. His sister, frustrated, calls after him and runs to follow. As they stand together, she calmly informs her brother that she'll be leaving too, but he suddenly stops her by calling out her real name. Shocked, she turns to face him as he steps forward, explaining that it's impossible to fool her older brother. He's shocked she wears a mask at school, saying their parents would faint if they found out. Blushing, she removes the mask and quietly apologizes, admitting her feelings for Hachiya. Her brother smiles, reminding her that Hachiya never lied. Then gently he asks if she's truly happy and if she's made real friends. She shyly nods. When she curiously asks how he figured it out, he explains that from the very beginning, thanks to his internal radar, he subtly guided Hachiya's sister to bring him to this cafe. The moment he saw her in the mask, he nearly collapsed from shock. When she asks if that's why he acted cold toward Hachiya, he nods, saying he just wanted to understand him. But now, seeing them talk so naturally, he's relieved and admits Hachiya is an honest guy. However, his mood shifts as he angrily declares he'll never forgive the guy who gave her the gypsophila. She stiffens, knowing it was Hachiya. Meanwhile, Hachiya's sister approaches him, grabs him gently by the hair, and hands him her lunchbox to take home since she has to return to the office. With a teasing smile, she praises him for finally making a friend and then seriously asks about Kumakura. Blushing, he quietly says she's just a friend, though his sister, clearly seeing through him, grins and advises him to treat her well. The next day, noticing Kumakura's downcast face and curry-stained mask, he hesitantly asks what happened. Misaki explains that she accidentally spilled curry on her during cooking class. Seeing both of them worried, she gently brushes it off, saying she'll just head home like that, even if she now smells like curry, which feels a bit odd. Later, as they sit alone, he offers to wash the mask for her. Embarrassed, she says she can do it herself, but he points out that if anyone sees her washing it, they'll realize she's the real Kumakura-san. He also reminds her that Misaki asked him to look after her. Blushing, she quietly removes the mask and hands it to him. Noticing her hair isn't dirty, he urges her to hide in case anyone comes by, then dashes off with the mask, promising to return soon. Left alone, she sits thinking about how protective he is, feeling shy and deeply flustered. After sitting quietly for a while, Kumakura notices the flowers Hachiya tends and, feeling excited, moves closer to admire them. Blushing, she remembers this was the spot where she once asked if he was the one who gave her those flowers. Meanwhile, Kamita, frustrated by the lack of any interesting scoop for the newspaper club, roams around searching for a headline-worthy story. Suddenly, he spots Kumakura near the flowers and is stunned, recognizing her as the same cute girl seen earlier with Hachiya. A sly thought crosses his mind. If this masked girl really is the true Kumakura, then this could be a jackpot story. Smirking with excitement, he quickly approaches and politely asks if he can interview her. Startled and recalling Hachiya's advice to run if anyone suspicious comes close, she dashes off and hides behind a nearby tree. Kamita, assuming she's extremely shy and struggling to communicate, gently sits down and introduces himself, then asks for her name. But without her phone to type on, she hesitates. Trying to respond with hand gestures, she struggles as he fails to understand a word. She quickly writes her fake name, Suzuki Kasumi, on the ground. Kamita reads it, confused. He has no records of any student by that name. Curious, he asks if she even attends the school. When she shyly nods, he wonders why there's no information about her. Then it clicks. If this quiet, nervous girl is Suzuki Kasumi, she can't possibly be the energetic and popular Kumakura he knows. Realizing they must be different people, he sighs and holds his head in disappointment. Still, intrigued, he asks if he can take a picture of her. Just then, Hachiya arrives, cheerfully apologizing for making her wait and proudly mentioning that he finished his task. But when he sees Kumakura nervously posing while Kamita snaps her photo, he freezes in shock. Before Kamita notices him, Hachiya quickly hides the mask behind a bush. Kamita is stunned when Kumakura suddenly runs and hides behind Hachiya. Putting the pieces together, he realizes she was cautious just moments ago, but rushed to Hachiya the moment he arrived. Watching their interaction, he jumps to the conclusion that they might be dating. Excited by the thought of such juicy news, a mob boy and a cute girl in love, he quickly sets up his camera and asks them a question. As both sit down, he curiously asks about their relationship. Hachiya, flustered and red-faced, nervously replies they're just friends. When Kamita presses if they're lovers, he immediately denies it, explaining she's a precious friend. Seeing her so shy and blushing, Kamita suspects it might be one-sided love from her. Then, changing the topic, he asks if Hachiya knows anything about Kumakura-san, which shocks them both. Hachiya glances at Kumakura before smiling and warmly sharing how kind she is, that thanks to her, people started noticing him, and now his world feels bright and colorful. Hearing his words, Kumakura blushes even more, deeply moved by his admiration. Kamita, now aware of the love triangle between Kumakura, Hachiya, and Suzuki, gets unexpectedly emotional, thinking Kumakura doesn't have feelings for Hachiya. But remembering his duty to the newspaper club, he focuses again as Kumakura, visibly nervous, tries to speak. Noticing she doesn't have her phone, Hachiya hands her his. She types into a text-to-speech app and shyly shares that she feels the same way. Despite being an introvert, he still likes her. With blushing cheeks, she softly calls him her hero, shocking both boys. To Hachiya, it feels like a true confession. Flustered, he reflects that being seen as her hero now means he has to work even harder to stay worthy of that title. Meanwhile, Kamita is baffled. Why is a girl even cuter than Hanamori interested in this plain guy? Then he remembers Hanamori also invited Hachiya on a date. Piecing it together, he wonders if Hachiya is secretly a magnet for cute girls. Thinking he stumbled upon a massive scoop, he quickly points his camera at Hachiya and asks if he has feelings for any other girls. Panicked and overwhelmed, Hachiya immediately denies it. When Kamita pushes further, asking if he only likes Kumakura, Hachiya, face red, sprints away, begging him to stop recording. While Kamita keeps messing around, he grows frustrated. He hasn't managed to capture even one clear photo of Hachiya. But as he stumbles on the ground, he seizes the moment, setting up his camera to snap a shot. Just then, Kumakura steps in front of him, calmly telling him to stop filming. With a blush, she offers her hand to help Hachiya stand up. Watching this, Kamita realizes she's protecting him too, just like before. Annoyed, he loudly announces that he'll stop chasing Kumakura, but declares Hachiya his new target. Smirking to himself, he decides that by sticking close to Hachiya, he'll still learn more about Kumakura anyway. Now alone, Hachiya gently advises her to be more careful. She stood out too much today. But before he can say more, she spots Kamita walking toward the spot where her mask is hidden. Alarmed, she sprints off and Hachiya, panicking, rushes after her to stop her. Just as she nears the spot, her foot slips, and in that instant, he catches her in his arms. At the same moment, Kamita turns the corner and is stunned to see them in each other's arms, blushing deeply as they gaze at one another. Without hesitation, he snaps a photo as Hachiya yells for him to stop, but Kamita bolts with the shot. The next day, the photo goes viral, a blurry image of Hachiya holding Kumakura, whose face is clearly visible. The headline? A mysterious beauty at their school. The entire school is buzzing. Everyone wants to know who the beautiful girl is, and they're curious about the blurry boy in the picture too. Sitting quietly in class, Hachiya is both embarrassed and secretly grateful that his face is hard to recognize. Kumakura too feels relieved she was wearing her mask. In the crowd, Hanamori stands back, suspicious. She stares hard at the blurry boy, wondering if it's really Hachiya, but her eyes keep returning to the mysterious girl. Her curiosity deepens. Hachiya is stunned when Hanamori angrily shows him the viral photo, demanding to know if the blurry boy is him. Caught off guard, he nervously denies it, while she awkwardly points out that he's always the one who ends up out of focus in every picture. Unbothered by his distressed expression, Hanamori turns her attention to the girl beside him in the photo, curiously asking if there's something between them. Nearby students begin whispering, assuming she caught him involved with another girl. Panicking, he hurriedly explains that the girl is Suzuki-san, just a friend. Hanamori, suddenly recalling the name, reacts with a forced smile before sternly demanding he arrange a meeting with her. Kumakura, overhearing them, rushes in and loudly questions the reason. With a sly grin, Hanamori coldly remarks that two beauties can't exist in the same school, implying rivalry more than curiosity. Hachiya is stunned to realize that Hanamori might genuinely want Kumakura out of the school. Trying to defuse the situation, Kumakura interjects, claiming that Suzuki isn't as cute in person as in the picture. Hanamori, furious, grabs her and argues otherwise, saying Suzuki is incredibly beautiful, even without makeup, with striking violet eyes and silky hair. Staring at the photo, Hanamori confesses her fear. With such a stunning girl around, the boys who once admired her might shift their attention to Suzuki, including Hachiya. Insisting she must meet the girl in person, Hanamori demands Hachiya arrange it. He panics, imagining a disaster if unmasked Kumakura and Hanamori clash. He apologetically refuses, but Hanamori, growing furious, grabs him by the collar. Then, suddenly composed, she warns that if he won't set up the meeting, she'll simply follow him all day instead. Hachiya calmly tries to deny her threat by claiming that, being practically invisible, he would be hard to follow. However, the next day, he's shocked when Hanamori loudly calls his name at the exact moment Kumakura was also approaching him. With a flustered face, he realizes she truly managed to track him. As promised, she stays with him all day, leaving Kumakura visibly distracted and disheartened by the lack of time spent together. During lunch, Misaki notices Kumakura absent-mindedly sitting without eating properly. When asked about it, Kumakura quickly brushes it off, but Misaki, unconvinced, guesses it's because of Hanamori always being around Hachiya lately. She quietly admits her worry that Hanamori might like him. As Misaki also seems unsure about their relationship, she anxiously asks for advice. After some thought, Misaki, energized, playfully suggests she challenge Hanamori for Hachiya, but then immediately shifts to a more realistic approach. She should confess her feelings first. Still tense and unsure how to act with Hanamori constantly near him, Kumakura listens as she gently encourages her to find the right moment and confess before someone else does. After a few minutes, Hanamori, now irritated, loudly complains about losing track of Hachiya. Just then, Kameda suddenly appears from behind and pointedly asks if she's searching for Suzuki Kasumi. Turning sharply, she yells at him to stop stalking her. Kameda calmly remarks that Hachiya would never let her meet Suzuki, so she should probably give up. But Hanamori, undeterred, insists that she must speak to the girl, no matter what. Meanwhile, Hachiya is hiding elsewhere, hoping Hanamori won't find him. Kumakura approaches him quietly and apologizes for causing so much trouble. He brushes it off with a gentle smile, expressing how surreal it feels that someone as unnoticed as him is now trying to hide from others. Calmly, he explains that his only wish is to make school enjoyable for her. He further shares that if Hanamori discovers her secret and Kumakura becomes too anxious to return, it would ruin everything. So he's trying to prevent that outcome. He reassures her not to worry about him. Hearing all this, Kumakura blushes deeply. With a soft voice, she admits that school has only felt fun because of him, but she doesn't want to cause any more trouble for him. Sadly, she adds that with all this confusion, school no longer feels the same. Then, gathering her courage, she confesses her true feelings, that she wants to stay by his side and spend more time with him. Hachiya, overwhelmed and flustered, misinterprets Kumakura's quiet confession, assuming she wants to distance herself from him, despite all the time they've shared together. He grows anxious, but is caught off guard when she gently asks him for a favor. Shortly after, Hanamori shows up, visibly irritated, standing beside Hachiya and demanding to know why he called her there. As he nervously fumbles for words, she impatiently yells at him to hurry up. When he cautiously warns her not to hit anyone upon seeing them, it only aggravates her more, especially since he looks like he's bracing for something serious. Suspecting he's talking about Suzuki, she leans in close and threatens that she won't forgive him if it's about another girl. At that exact moment, Kumakura arrives. Her adorable presence momentarily stuns Hanamori, who stands frozen. But her expression quickly turns stern as she begins to march toward her. Hachiya, panicked, pleads with them not to fight. Everyone is stunned when Hanamori stops, pulls out a childhood photo featuring a little girl with a cute crown, and presents it to Kumakura, declaring that she's her biggest fan. Hachiya, surprised, takes a closer look at the photo, uncertain if it's really Kumakura as a child. But upon noticing a boy in the picture, he asks confusedly if it's actually hers. Embarrassed but smiling, Hanamori snatches the picture back and admits that it's indeed her own childhood photo. She adds, a little shyly, that she used to be very tomboyish as a child. However, after seeing Kumakura's graceful and feminine aura one day, she decided to change and become more like her. Now standing in front of her idol, she warmly thanks Kumakura, because it's due to her that she became the cute and confident girl she is today. Now both girls look at each other with cheerful smiles, and Hachiya, still recovering from the tension, expresses his surprise, asking why Hanamori didn't just say she admired Kumakura earlier. That way it would have been easier for him to arrange a meeting. Hanamori, flipping back into her confident tone, retorts that she wanted to meet her this way. Though Hachiya is relieved they're not fighting, he optimistically suggests they could become friends. But Hanamori instantly shuts it down with fiery resolve, declaring that they are rivals, startling everyone around them. She then pulls out a flyer for the upcoming beauty contest, excitedly announcing the competition. It's a showdown between girls who must charm the audience through singing and dancing. As she enthusiastically explains it, Kumakura quietly trembles with nervousness. Hanamori adds, full of fire, that her only goal is to win. Looking at Kumakura, she declares that if Kumakura participates, they'll truly be rivals. Hachiya, alarmed by this, quickly reasons that if Kumakura joins, the pressure might overwhelm her and even discourage her from coming to school. Fearing this, he loudly declares that Kumakura will not participate. She, though slightly disappointed, admits that winning without Kumakura as a competitor would feel dull. She then walks closer to Hachiya and slyly whispers that if she wins, she'll ask him out on a date, just the two of them. His shocked and visibly uncomfortable expression makes her giggle, teasing that he must be embarrassed. Hachiya quickly denies it. Meanwhile, Komakura silently watches them, her expression turning serious. Then, using her text-to-speech app, she calmly announces her decision. She will participate in the contest too, but only under one condition. If she wins, Hanamori must stay away from him. With that, the air turns tense again. The two girls now stare at each other not as fans, but as true rivals, while Hachiya stands in the middle, more worried and confused than ever.